Yeah, before we start this video, I just want to say there was a parental warning that we sent out via email. Parents, you should know by now that this video is going to be about sexual desires today. So if you don't want your teen watching this, make sure you do what you need to do so that way they skip this week. And we'll be happy to see them next week if they're coming to if you're watching this to do like the family time cards and your kids usually come to middle school life group, you should have already gotten that email that said that they should stay in main service this week to skip this lesson because we're going into a little bit more graphic detail than we usually do in regards to talking about sex because it is a big issue with kids nowadays, especially teens. The average age for a kid exposed to sexual content is 10 to 11 years old. So if you're a student watching this, you're not sure if you should, go pause this video, go talk to your parents, make sure it's cool with them that you're able to watch this. If you are a parent and you're watching this and you're wondering if your students should watch it, maybe you should watch it all the way through, see what the content is, and then decide from there whether your kid should attend middle school life group this Sunday, second service, or watch this video even, or if they should skip this week and then just come back and join us next week. All right, done with that. I'm going to dive into our lesson at 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Yo, third grade. You guys have that food that you couldn't get enough of when you were a kid. When I was in third grade, my mom would slay up some spaghetti. And there was this one particular night where she let me eat as much as I wanted. And I remember I had like 4 or 5 bowls. It was some crazy number. I think my dad was late getting home that night. So I got to have as much as I wanted. My sister was at behind the wheel practice. So we drove down, took my sister up from driver's class from behind the wheel. And she's late getting back. And my stomach just starts acting up. And I'm spitting up everywhere. Like it wasn't like a volcano eruption. It wasn't really even throw up. It was just saliva. I could not keep it down. It just started coming up everywhere. I couldn't keep the spaghetti down because I had allowed myself to over gratify my desire, my will to eat spaghetti because I love spaghetti. All right. Like eating spaghetti, it felt so good. So I kept eating it and eating it and eating it. I literally ate too much spaghetti and I started bursting at the seams. I was literally bursting at the seams because I was too full. And we all have impulses. We all have bodily desires, cravings that we want so bad to gratify and even over gratify at times. But to gratify, like it could be playing that new video game you got. Like you have this innate desire to keep playing it, beat the level, or get better at it. If it's like a multiplayer game online, like you want to get your ranking up, all that kind of stuff. Not be a noob. Maybe it's like it's getting better at sport or getting healthier or more active, getting better grades. Like we all have these impulses, bodily desires, cravings that we want so bad to gratify. It's a natural thing to pursue things. All right. One of the strongest ones you develop as you get older, though, is sexual desires. All right. And this isn't going to be like some school sex ed talk, you have with your health class at school if you have that, or maybe it's something you learned at home if you're homeschooled. It's not going to be one of those talks. All right. But what I need to say up front with you is that we're talking about sexual desires today. And God, you need to know like sexual desires are natural. God created you with sexual desires, and you're at an age though. You're at an age where sometimes they come on really strong. You know what I mean? Like think of it for a second. Like maybe if you're in 6th grade, you're kind of just starting to experience them. It's still a little awkward. It's still a little weird. You're not even sure if you like them. Or maybe you're in 6th grade and you're like boy crazy or girl crazy. And you're just like, yo, I want to be in a relationship right now. Like yesterday, let's get it. If you're older, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Like your emotions, your feelings are playing tug of war with your mind, your heart, your very soul. Like sexual desires can be natural, they can be good, but like any desires, if they control you, then you're going to get sick. You're gonna throw up the spaghetti, right? Like you're gonna invite sin into your life because you over gratified a natural desire. All right. So without self-control in this equation, your life is going to be off course from who God intended you to be. Remember, we're talking about this whole humanity idea. We're talking about this isn't do's and don'ts. This isn't a don't have sex message. This isn't a do message. This is who does God intend for you to be? Is he saying that I should wait until marriage because it's wrong, or is he saying wait until marriage? Is he waiting to give into these gratifications? Is he saying wait for the right person because of who you could be? If you just had self control, if you could do things by this standard that we're about to read about in Ephesians, would your life really be that much better? I'm going to show you today that it is. So check this out. Like if you're a Christian and you don't have self-control over your sexual desires, over your impulses, over the things that you want to gratify, you'll never aspire to be who Christ has saved you to be. If you're a Christian, you'll never aspire to be who Christ has saved you to be if you lack self-control in this area of your life. All right, you're always going to be off course, or as Paul's about to put it, we're about to read, out of place. So I'm going to pull up the background. I want you guys to see this as we talk about sexual desires. All right, so check this out. It says, but among you must not be even a hint, y'all, of sexual immorality or of any kind of impurity or of greed, because these are improper for God's holy people, nor should there be any obscenity, foolish talk, or coarse joking, which is out of place, but rather thanksgiving. For of this you can be sure, no immoral, impure, or greedy person, such a person as idolater, has any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of such things, God's wrath comes on those who are disobedient. Therefore, do not be partners with them. So let's just start with the basics. All right, like Paul says, to take off sexual immorality. He's very clear with that. He says you're not supposed to be even a hint of it in your life, because like a hint, like even a little bit, dude, it's like spitting up spaghetti. Like it's not, I'm just drooling. It's not actual throw up. I didn't get food poisoning or anything, but like giving into this promiscuous lifestyle, which is like promiscuous is like I'm gonna dabble in it. It could be full blown. It could just be dabbling. But either way, I'm where I'm not supposed to be. So it's like even a hint, dude, is going to jack up your life. But what does Paul classify as being sexually immoral? Go to verse 4. Check this out. It says, nor should there be obscenity, foolish talk, or coarse joking, which are out of place, but rather thanksgiving. Let's get into this. So check this out. This is the first one I want to talk about is obscenity. So like obscenity could be like an obscene gesture. Would be like flipping someone off. Like if you drive down the road, someone get mad at you and they flip you the bird. Like, flipping someone off is an obscene gesture. All right. I'm assuming most of you guys know what an obscene gesture is. A funny one, but it's inappropriate, is like mooning someone. Like, mooning someone is an obscene gesture. But also, like to get back to like sexual desires, like sending pictures of yourself or receiving pictures knowingly of someone, inappropriate pictures, like that's an obscene gesture. That's obscene. You're not meant to see that. They're not meant to see that. That's obscene. That's what an obscene gesture is. And Paul says if there's even a hint of that in your life, if you're giving into that, it doesn't matter if it's your girlfriend, your boyfriend, it doesn't matter if it's an acquaintance, it doesn't matter if you think you're going to marry the person. You're not there yet. All right. And so it's an obscene gesture. Second, foolish talk. It's like talk that is meaningless. All right. It has a zero value, completely meaningless. It's not going to get you a great date with a great girl. It's not going to get you a great date with a great guy. You're not going to find anybody of value if they accept it and want it from you. Like foolish talk that is meaningless. Like some guys will stand on a street corner, or like stand like in the hallway before school, They'll see that girl start walk by and they'll talk out loud about her like she's not even there and she can overhear them. How about the way she looks? They'll objectify her, turn her into this object. It's just meaningless and unfruitful. That's what foolish talk is. That's what foolish people do. That's what people who have zero wisdom and are this small, that's what they do in their lives. It's meaningless and unfruitful. Like they are her husband. If it's girls, like you're not that dude's wife and you aren't their creator. You're not God. You didn't craft them. You didn't form them. You're not glorifying God for who they are. You're just making them this object to gratify your urges and your pleasure. And that's what this whole talk of gratification comes in. Like, what is the world trying to get you to do? What are your friends trying to get you to do? What are you learning from media and movies and all these different places? What are they saying is appropriate? But then like, what does that stuff actually do to your life? And that's what we're going to really get into. So like I said, stick with me here. Stick with me. You might be like, yo, I don't know if I agree with you. I'm about to tune out. Just stick with me. I'm going to explain it in a second. So, so we have obscenity, foolish talk. Third one is coarse joking. And this is the biggest one, I think, because I think it's the easiest one to do, honestly. Like obscenity, I feel like on a Richter scale of 1 to like 10, it's like 10's the worst, man. Like 1's not that big of a deal. Like 10 would be to me like obscenity. Foolish talk is somewhere in the middle, but like coarse joking, like behind someone's back, talking about someone. Like Paul says, all these things are out of place, even coarse joking. And that's what I was talking about earlier about out of place. So like any kind of joke with a sexual reference or talks about another person's body, that's coarse joking. Anything talking about what they have or haven't done sexually is coarse joking. Degrading someone is coarse joking. And that stuff is out of place. But here's the real truth, guys. When you do it, you're out of place. And I don't mean like out of place, like you're out of place. How dare you? Even though I could, like that's true too. Like you're out of place because you're not being who you're meant to be. You are meant for so much more. You were created for so much more. If you're a Christian, like the standard that you're held to is so much higher than what you're living. Like you're living this foolish lie if you're given into any one of these three things. You're not who you're meant to be. But check this out. Like it's one thing to say or note someone is beautiful or you find attractive. Like that is a one plate of spaghetti statement. That is a God's creation is awesome. Like cool. I'm recognizing a natural tendency or desire. It's not a big deal. But Christians, we are out of place when we think that other people. And this is the catch. This is how do I know? Like how do I know the difference? This sounds really confusing. Like how do I know if I'm doing it right or am I wrong? Like I don't want to walk around like this in the hallway at school, not looking at people because I'm afraid that I'm sinning if I'm looking at. I'm not saying that. Here's how you know the difference. Christians are out of place when they think that other people are items or objects that they can enjoy whenever or however they want. Christians are out of place when they think that other people are items or objects they can enjoy whenever, however they want. It's one thing for me, like if I saw a woman, so like, recognize her and be like, oh man, she's like beautiful, like what she's doing with her hair, she's attractive. Okay, cool. And it's one for me, like to notice that, like, it happens. But it's another thing for me to like go away from that and start fantasizing about her in my mind, to start like role playing about her in my mind. Like that is a whenever, however statement. You understand the difference? Like whenever, however, like that is when it becomes foolish. That is when you turn into an object. That is when you're assuming control over that other person, whether they know it or not. So here's the deal for you guys. Remember, take off, renew your mind, put on our 3 steps. Take off promiscuity. So do you guys remember King Solomon in the Bible? King David's son. King David had a journey with promiscuity. He killed a man's wife, or he killed a wife's husband. This woman named Bathsheba. to take her as his own. He had a moment where he was in a place where he wasn't supposed to be. He had lacked self-control. He wasn't off fighting a battle with his men, and he sees this woman off on top of this house who's bathing, and he notices how attractive she is. And so what does he do? He gets her to come to his place. He sleeps with her. They conceive a child, and that's the journey of King David. And it wrecks his life. It wrecks Bathsheba's life, and literally he has her husband killed. This guy who's also faithful and loyal to David over this. Well, King Solomon comes on, David's son, and his overgratification or his too much spaghetti moment in his life was he had hundreds of wives, literally hundreds of wives. Women were just an object to him. It was a display case. It was a trophy. It was something he fantasized or objectified about. When you objectify or fantasize about people, their bodies, you're not really in love with them. Let me make that clear. Like, you are not in love with them. You're in love with the fake them or the version of them you've created in your mind. You've created a person, a fake image that isn't really them, because they would never really do those things with you. They would never agree to those things with you. You've created this fake them that you get to enjoy in free space. I listened to this preacher once who talked about sexually fantasizing about people you're not married to, or even like people that you are married to. And he's like, it's like having a harem of the mind. And that's what Solomon had. He had a harem, a physical harem. But when you create this, like, it is a harem of the mind. You own them. You're literally choosing to own these images, these personas, these bodily figures in your head. And it's inappropriate to own people, just like it's inappropriate to own slaves. Like, did you catch that? Like, this is a pivot moment. I don't want you to miss this. So please focus. Like, it's inappropriate to own people, just like it's inappropriate to own slaves. Do you agree with that statement? Like, that it's inappropriate to own slaves? If you're obsessing about, talking down to, mistreating, fantasizing about others, you're choosing to enslave that person in your heart and in your mind. It's corrupting your soul. Don't try to own others. Take off promiscuity. Cease mistreating others. Honor them. Don't mistreat them. So secondly, think differently about yourself. Like, think differently about yourself when it comes to sex. Like, you are a real person worth valuing. Make sure you're consuming things that say you're worth being valued and loved, and that others, man, like, are worthy of valued, who are worth being valued and should and absolutely be loved. Like, some of you guys, like, you consume media and music and all this stuff that says the exact opposite. And that, let me tell you something, that's how you got to where you are. Like, you consume content and it eventually wrecks your life and how you look and treat others. Like, stop diving into that stuff and expecting something different to happen. Also, stop thinking you're the God of your own heart and mind. You want to renew your mind, think differently about yourself? Stop thinking that you're in control, that you're the God of your own heart and mind. Your heart and mind aren't a secret place where you can go run and hide. It's not a private place where you can go hang out and no one's going to know what's happening. When you store these fantasies in your heart, first off, God knows. And secondly, they're going to show up in your speech, your physical touch, your gestures, how you relate to that special person that comes along in your life. The fantasies in your heart and mind, the things you consume online when no one's looking, that stuff shows up and it ruins lives. Like, there are plenty of married people out there, if they still are married, who do this stuff. They think marriage's going to fix it. Like, it's just going to go away when they get married. They're not going to want it anymore. And they keep, like, that's a lie. Also, that's a myth. Like, thinking that, like, you're going to stop doing that stuff when you're married, it doesn't work like that. Like, you either choose to not do it or you keep doing it. Marriage has zero effect on that for most people. But they'll go into marriage, and they're just, like, drained with those fantasies and with the harem of the mind that they've created. And, like, they cannot, like, love their partner, love their spouse, because they've allowed those fantasies and what they consume to privately ruin their minds. Start thinking differently, renew your mind. Think differently about sex. Like, people are beautiful It's natural to say that. Finding beauty in others is good, as long as it's the one plate of spaghetti. Like, people don't exist for your personal pleasure. You do not own anyone. Put on self-control. Lastly, again, people don't exist for your pleasure. When you start having control over your urges, like, you gotta have control. Like, you'll find the freedom to love people like they should be loved. People don't exist for your pleasure. When you're about to say or think something inappropriate, pause. Pause and ask yourself. This is what we struggle with is when we're ready to go gratified, like, man, we forget the pause. It's just like go, 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 go. Pause and ask yourself, is this me trying to own or degrade? Or is this how this person should be loved? Is this how this person should be loved? If the answer is no, if this isn't the way God intended, it's not just time to pause, it's time to stop and put down what I'm about to do, how I'm about to think, how I'm about to act. Here's what I need you guys to know. This all sounds really heavy, doesn't it? Like, we've gotten to the end. If you're still watching, or if you've turned out and now you're kind of tuning back in because this was hot and heavy, and you're just like, like your mind's just jacked up. You're like, I don't necessarily agree with anything you've said. I'm afraid to tell anybody anything because I feel like I'm too far gone. I want to let you know, like, you're not too far gone. Your questions are acceptable. They're accepted here. Like, 1 Thessalonians 5:11 says, believers are to encourage one another and build one another up. You are meant to encourage one another and build each other up. You're meant to encourage and build up people of, that you find beautiful and attractive. Like, you're made to value others, and you're made to be valued. And what I mean you're made to be valued, like, if you need to talk about something, if you're struggling with sexual lust, reach out. Like, guys, talk to me. Like, reach out, connect. Don't be afraid to open up. Like, girls, hit up Gail. Don't be afraid to share what's going on in your life, because we are not here. Ultimately, we are not here to condemn. That's not my job. Like, my job is not to condemn you. My job is to help you find freedom in Jesus, to point to a Savior that loves you regardless of what you've done, regardless of what you're doing. Like, there's freedom found in Christ. I fully believe that. Nothing you're going to say is going to surprise me. Nothing you say is going to, completely push me away from you. Like, there's grace in Christ. I want to point you to that grace. I want to point you to Jesus that is offering you freedom from what you're going through. If that's sexual immorality, let's make it so there's not even a hint. Let's get to it. Let's get you some accountability. Let's get you some help if that's what you need. High school life group tonight, middle school life group. We'll see you in person Sunday if you didn't watch this video.